I left my 10-year friendship with my bestie when she was having major surgery because I was fed up with her consistent behavior of bitterness when something good happens to me. Let me explain. I, 32 female, has known, let's call her spiritual, 29 female, since university through a relative of mine. About 5 months after the introduction, my relative stopped talking to spiritual. I asked what happened, and he said he had given her numerous chances to act right, but she keeps misbehaving, and her last act was the last straw. I asked again for more details, but knowing I was now closer to her, he didn't divulge any further information, but he told me I'll see for myself, and I should just be careful. My principles has always been guided by what I see and experience rather than what people tell me, and so I really didn't use what he said as a yardstick to judge her or relate with her. Through the years, she had unleashed different naughty behaviors, but I truly loved her, so I made excuses for it at the time. I mean, I'm not a saint either. I am easily irritable. I have a temper that manifests by completely ignoring or cutting away from people when I'm upset, especially when I've expressed I don't like something a few times. I don't like calls because it gives me anxiety, and sometimes when I feel there's really nothing to talk about, I prefer text messaging. Many times I've missed calls and find it hard calling back. I don't like going out. I'm kind of a loner, so bringing me out to meet up with people can be very, very difficult sometimes. I'm an overthinker, a worrier, and a very empathetic person. My mood can completely change based on one sad news I hear. I mention this because it plays a big role in our journey as friends, and also gives an idea of different situations that she had to put up with that side of me. So, I always try to be gracious with her as well. I'll briefly mention some situations that she had been very, very bad to me leading up to this last situation that caused our separation. 1. She was very disrespectful to my ex and insulted me when I confronted her and addressed her on the issue, while she was staying in my home. She later explained that she was sad and envious that I was in a relationship, and she wasn't. I'm always happy for her when good things happen to her. I'm always super excited when she wins. But she didn't express happiness for me, especially for things she didn't have that I did. But we patched things up days later because she knows how to apologize. 2. She really wanted to get married, and I totally understood because she wasn't like me. I take each day as it comes. If I don't get married, I will continue living my life. But it was really hard for her, and so she would go to different prayer mountain and prayer community, which I verbally discouraged. I don't believe in hopping to different places for spiritual help. I believed in sticking to one church. They fed her with the there's a spiritual problem somewhere kind of prophecies. In measure, it was her aunt and uncle that buried something somewhere, that's why she's not succeeding. At some point, she said they told her she and I are both not married because men see us and they don't see our true self, they see old people. At this point, I said nope, I don't have a problem with men asking me out or being in a relationship. I'm just stubborn about what I want in life. And I also have a very strong personality that could hinder the perception of me with men. There was nothing spiritually evil going on hindering me from marrying. And that got me thinking. With the way things were going, one day they would tell her it's her friend that is the reason she's not married. And I had a feeling if they mentioned it repeatedly, she would believe. So I stopped her from living with me under the explanation that relatives were coming to stay with me so that she can go back and live with her family. 3. There was a time she disappeared for weeks on one of her mountain prayer and fasting, which I was privy to know later on, and she refused to communicate with anyone on where she was, not even me. Nobody could communicate with her, and because everyone thought she lived with me and I was her best friend, the calls kept coming in and I couldn't give any right information. I was worried sick. I was also angry for her putting me in that kind of situation, where if anything had happened, I would have been held responsible. I called everyone I could. I would call and text her. The message would deliver, but she won't respond because she feeds off people being worried about her. I could understand when she does it with guys that she liked, but doing it with me, when she knew how worried I could get, I just couldn't understand it. Next thing she did was send a suicidal message to a cousin of hers, and he sent it to me. I was a mess. Finally, she came back about 3 weeks later, and sincerely, I really wanted her to just leave me alone at that point because I couldn't handle how traumatic the experience was, but we patched things up again. 4. When me and my ex mutually separated and I was explaining to her the reason, she didn't care. I could see she was a little bit happy about it. We sat in a garden when I shared the news and was interrupted midway talking to her about it. When the person left, she didn't ask me to continue my explanation of what happened. In fact, she changed the subject. I already knew it wasn't her cup of tea. She told me before she never liked him in the first place. 5. She's AS and her ex was AS as well. And although he wasn't really a nice boyfriend to her, but this reason made me know there was no way they could get married because of their genotype. But I was supportive. We prayed together for her genotype to change and later did a test. Shockingly, it showed AA. I was sincerely so shocked and excited because it was something I've heard people testify of, but to see it happen to someone directly linked to me was amazing, or so I thought. The breakup left her bitter, and I noticed it's with her previous boyfriend as well. Immediately they leave her, she starts stalking their life, their new girlfriend's page, sending anonymous texts, watching their every move. She becomes so bitter in her prayer towards them. Anybody that offends her must go through hell. When I told her she should just let things go, that she deserves better, and I say nothing will happen to them just because they didn't end up marrying her, she gets upset. So I had to change my responses and join her in saying yes, they will suffer, just to appease her feelings. Her stalking pattern was now applied with the present ex at the time. She started talking with the wife of her ex through the lady's business contact. contact. How she went about the whole breakup was just off. I understand the hurts, but this felt like going too far. But I still supported her through this because I felt that's how she deals with the whole pain she was going through. Now the situation that broke the camel's back. The story that made me make my final decision to leave her. We had a mutual friend who had fallen sick. She had cancer. We all attended the same prayer community group, but at the time she was sick, I had left the group due to some personal reasons. I had not seen this mutual friend for like a year plus. One Sunday, Spiritual comes to my house and says it was announced in group today that our mutual friend needed blood and no one in the group was forthcoming to donate. I am O positive, and our mutual friend was A positive. For me, it was a no-brainer to make the decision to go and donate, even though I was on my period. We get ready, we head to the hospital. I see our mutual friend briefly with her siblings around her, and then we headed to the screening room. They take a blood sample from me for screening first, and then I had the blood group of our mutual friend, and it's the same as my friend's blood group. So I told Spiritual, our mutual friend has the same blood group as you. I further asked if she won't donate blood for our mutual friend, and she says no, she must have her reasons. It's actually not by force. They said it would take like 2 hours to finish screening my blood. We leave and come back to the hospital like 3 hours later, but it took like 4 hours plus before they finally concluded screening and collected the kinds of my blood. We go back to the ward to see our mutual friend. She was in so much pain. She was a fraction of her size, someone that used to be very plumpy. We pray with our mutual friend, and then we departed separately. That evening, when I go home, I felt faint. I didn't tell my friend though, because I didn't want anything to bother her. A few days later, my friend sends a message to me that she spoke with our mutual friend, and our mutual friend said she doesn't even know who gave her blood, but thank you. I was like, so why didn't you just tell her? It was me that gave her blood. Why did you have to hide it? She said she didn't want to bother her with that information. I suddenly felt irritated and annoyed, but I wanted to be sure I wasn't overreacting, so I called another friend and explained what took place, and how I felt like she purposely didn't want to give me credit for what I did. My friend said I have every right to feel that way, and she told me to express how I felt. I sent Spiritual a message that I wasn't happy with her not mentioning it was me. She calls me and says I should take a chill pill and stop overreacting. That made me even madder. I was like, I'm telling you I'm not happy about what you did, telling you how I feel, and you're saying I should take a chill pill. Is it better I just hold it against you and not mention it? Anyway, hours later, she now started trying to gaslight me that she was just joking to see my reaction, and I knew that was a lie. After that, I just became cautious and stayed away from her. About 2 weeks later, Spiritual sends a one-liner message on WhatsApp that our mutual friend died. Now, this may seem normal, but she usually doesn't give me messages of someone's death like that because she knows how it affects me. She's usually more gentle and comforting, leading up to the news of any death she wants to share with me. But she sent it in a way that says, yeah, after your supposed effort, I'm fighting it because I didn't give you credit. She still died. This might be me just projecting my hurt feelings and translating it that way, but she deviated from the usual way she shares sensitive news to me. So I'm allowed to conclude on her intention, and I confirmed this 3 years later, in 2024, after she sent me a very weird voice note. Continuing, I replied, no, to her breaking the news of our mutual friend's death. But she says nothing after that one-liner message. I cried. It really hurts because our mutual friend was very talented, very hardworking. I really hoped for a news of her recovery. After this last behavior, I shut off completely from Spiritual. I knew I would not be friends with this person anymore. I could be civil with her. I made up my mind I will reply her messages, but I didn't want any closeness at all with her. Weeks later, she sends a message that she was going for a surgery. I replied her message immediately. I saw it, saying sorry and asking where she was having the surgery. It was in another state. If it was in the same state, I would have gone to see her. I would not change my mind on being her friend, but I would have definitely checked up on her. I told her, okay, let me know when you're done with the surgery. Now, remember I mentioned how she feeds off people worrying about her. She did the same thing in this case. I sent her messages asking about her surgery. She doesn't reply. I tried to call her once and saw she had blocked my line. I sent 2 more messages after that and no response, and I stopped contacting her because I was sure she was doing this purposely. I heard later from other people in the group we both attended, and she told them I abandoned her when she was sick, and I made no effort to say contrary because people tend to believe individuals who they perceive are easygoing. I told them they can accept whatever she says. I wasn't in any mood for a back and forth of she said, I said, or she did this, I did that situation. I was done. I probably should have tried calling her mom since she was ill, as that's what a Christian should do, but because I knew exactly how she wanted to put me in panic mode, I chose to ignore her. We went silent after that for months. I sent birthday wishes on her birthday, and she did the same on mine. One day, she sent a long message of how she missed me, and how she can't believe we aren't friends anymore. And I didn't call her even after knowing about her surgery. I asked her why didn't she reply the messages asking her about her health and the surgery. She said she couldn't use her phone at the time. But when you could, why didn't you reply? I knew it was all lies. I thought maybe I should open up to her again about how I felt, and I did. I explained how I felt about what she did, how she delivered the message to me. I opened up about what happened when I donated the blood for our mutual friend. I just poured out my mind to her, but instead of her owning up to what happened, she gaslights me. She said she can't believe I even asked her to donate her blood, knowing she is AS, and she was very disappointed in me. And I'm like, girl, what? Don't say this outside, please. Who told you AS can't donate blood? And besides, I never had a problem with you not donating your blood. She purposely refused to see my point. Plus, I later remembered that this girl brought a result saying her genotype had changed to AA. So did she forge it then to try to convince her ex to marry her? I started to piece together different things that happened in the past. Anyway, we set an appointment for me to call her. I called, and she was talking like she was dying. Another method she used on her boyfriends when she was living with me. And I straight up told her, please stop all this. If you couldn't speak, why bother telling me when to call you? She cuts the call on me and didn't call back or message me after that. Fast forward to 2024. She must have heard or seen that I traveled for the holidays because I posted my travels on social media. As usual, her pattern of bitterness made her send a voice note. This voice note gave me more assurance that I made the right decision to not be her friend anymore. On the voice note, she says a lot of things about needing to get things off her chest. But the comment that stood out for me was this. She said the brother of our mutual friend called her to tell her that it was my blood that killed his sister. That it was after they transferred my blood that she died. Which is funny of her or her brother to say, considering they used hours at the hospital to screen my blood. And also, our friend died about a week plus later after my donation. It was funny that after 3 years of this incident happening, she thought saying this would hurt me. She did it on purpose just to try to make me feel bad. She goes on to say if she left me the way I left her when she was sick, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. Which is what she tells people. She doesn't mention that I actually tried reaching her. She's spiritual. She assumes it was just that situation about not giving me credit for the blood donation that made me quit our friendship. But for me, I just put all the patterns of her behavior together and saw that she didn't have a good heart towards me. She didn't wish me well. And I don't think she's ever going to be self-aware to know that behavior is toxic. If you relate to this story, drop a comment and share your thoughts on the situation. Please like and subscribe as I share more stories on friends and fools.